Yes, you are.
Awesome. Can we see my screen or no?
I can't yet.
Let's see here. How about now?
Yep, got it.
Awesome. 1 second, technical difficulty. Hey, everybody. Aaron Davis, ACI. Thank you all for the opportunity to kind of present Virtual Vendor Day. If you can imagine me standing behind my table right now showing you all of our good stuff. We certainly appreciate, again, the opportunity. Hopefully next year we can do this in person, as we always look forward to seeing you guys. ACI, just going to kind of go over some of our capabilities, some of the products. You guys are probably going to be fairly familiar with a few of them. Just kind of point out some of the highlights and hopefully what kind of makes us a good vendor partner. So kind of getting started, we'll sing the song about ACI. For those of you that have been familiar with ACI over the past few years, we have been around since the early 80s. So it says 30 years, it's 30 plus. ACI stands for Augit Communications. That's what we originally operated as, manufacturing a leading brand of high-end performance broadband amplifiers. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys, as I think you can see. Basically, ACI has been around since the early 80s. We've been manufacturing amplifiers of our own, SDA amps. We became a brand of Thomas & Betts for a short while, and then a facility in Taiwan called Two-Way purchased ACI. And so now our manufacturing facility is in Taiwan, where we do crank out amplifiers, nodes, DSIMs, and then our warehouse as well as U.S. operations are based out of Kent, Washington, which is essentially a Seattle suburb, and then international offices in Canada, Chile, Mexico, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, South Korea, etc. Most of those are handled out of Taiwan. Advantages of us being the manufacturer, specific custom requests are available. Basically, if you guys have any sort of needs to where there's a large project coming up and we can partner with you, we can get any sort of forecast, those things we can kind of deliver on time, sometimes before time if need be. So basically training, product information, all that information, we can tailor that to your needs. Obviously, training can be done free of charge, whether it's virtual as we are today or in person, which some of you guys have seen me in the past. We do have an industry-leading 5-year warranty with our RMA department in Kent, Washington. So those of you guys that have used our product or do have some of our product, any sort of RMA work we do out of our facility. If you do have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. Our entire team would be available for that as well. So as far as products qualified with Charter and Comcast, actually surpassed the qualification process over the past couple of years. 1 gig available product as far as amplifiers. In Two-Way, again, that's where all of our manufacturing is done. It's quite a large facility. These numbers are not misprints. We can produce 10,000 amplifiers a month, 2,000 nodes, and 100,000 DSIMs. Again, I know those quantities sound quite large. Last year, we had a Comcast region request 80,000 DSIMs in mid to late August. We produced and fulfilled that request by the end of November so they could have their 30 to 45 days to be able to invoice that. So lead time usually is 4 to 6 weeks. Again, if we have some sort of forecast, we can help shave those down significantly. But traditionally, 4 to 6 weeks is typically the lead time that we do offer on amplifiers, DSIMs, etc. So the DSIM, quite a few of you are familiar with that. The entire family, as you may know, started out with the DSIM A for our SDA amplifiers. We had some customers that thought it'd be really neat if we could make that for Motorola, Philips Magnavox, GainMaker, etc. So the various types of DSIMs that we do have. For those of you on the line that do have C-Core amplifiers, we have C-Core DSIMs as well. So those do typically require that you send them through a repair house. You can use anybody that does repairs, and they would unsolder the old daughter board, put in the new daughter board, and then the DSIM. So those are being used quite extensively throughout the country, as well as the GainMaker and Moto, Philips Magnavox, etc. So the DSIM platform. Kind of what this slide shows is just kind of what makes the DSIM kind of better than a traditional AGC. So it can be any pilot channel that you guys choose. It can be analog, it can be digital. It even works with OFDM. Quite a few folks are using the OFDM carrier as we speak. Obviously, you set that up to whatever your pilot channel is. You set your inputs and outputs, set it, and it stays on that pilot. If the pilot is lost for whatever reason, it does have a thermal fallback to where it will compensate instead of having signal bouncing, creating a lot of issues. And then as soon as your pilot channel is returned, it will go back to its original pilot channel as well as levels. The status alarm indication, basically what that's letting you know is that in 40 days worth of data keeping, the DSIM traditionally takes a snapshot every 4 hours of the data that's in the field. So it's monitoring your 24-volt status, the 12-volt ripple, the pilot channel if it's in range or out of range. The attenuator will kind of be going up and down based upon what it's doing as far as temperature goes. But if in case there was a loss of pilot for whatever reason, at that point in time, that status alarm indication will take a snapshot and it will produce the information as to what happened at that moment in time, so you can kind of see what's going on there. So the temperature and data logging, DC voltage and ripple data logging, all of that is included in that 40 days. Day 1 falls off at 41, 2 at 42, etc. So the DSIM functionality. Many of you may be aware, ACI has started producing a 1 gig line of amplifiers for Motorola, Gerald as well. So we have the mini bridger as well as the line extender. The nice part about these amplifiers is they do include the DSIM that many of you guys love. So it would reduce the need to take the faceplate off and install the DSIM and put the faceplate back on. Some of the features that our drop-ins all share, whether it's the Moto, whether it's the SA, whether it's the C-Core, is that they do include the DSIM, the pad adjustable EQs. Basically, I think some of you have seen these at trade shows. It's a blank EQ slot that you can use anybody's JXP pads to populate, therefore reducing your need to carry a bunch of EQs, whether it's forward or return, various different levels and values and multiple of each. JXP pads, much cheaper cousin of the EQs. You guys have those and can change your EQs with those. GaN hybrids also give you better reliability and better surge protection. We are manufacturing these for 1.2 compliancy towards the early to middle part of next year. Currently, we are in production with our SDA amplifiers to finish the 1.2 compliancy. I think it's going to be sometime in November. C-Core will be the first line of drop-ins next year. But we are working to get them all towards 1.2, again, compliancy, if that's even a word. And then all of these can be dropped into 750 rates, 70 spacings. And then the return path is upgradable to 204 megahertz with kits. So the Moto drop-ins, the SA C-Core drop-ins, here we go. So at this point in time, we have drop-ins for SA C-Core, SA gain maker, whether it be high gain dual, low gain dual, LE, unbalanced triple, or balanced triple. Again, the same general features, DSIMs included, variable EQs. And again, those will be 1.2 next year. Same thing with the C-Core. The C-Core modules are being used by some of the other top 10 MSOs. Quite good results so far. Again, same features. These will be the first 1.2 compliant drop-ins that we have that will be available next year, I believe in early Q1, late Q1 at worst. So the C-Core drop-ins will share, again, the exact same features. The DSIM will be included, the equalizers, the same platform, everything will be in there. This is a list of the various C-Core modules that the 1 gig drop-ins do work with. If anybody has questions on these or needs this information, obviously we can share this after the presentation. The SDA line of amplifiers, again, this is the line of amplifiers that ACI produced back in the early 80s and became known for. Quite a few Charter, quite a few Comcast locations using these nationwide. Again, the same general concept of all of the drop-ins are shared by our SDA amplifiers, which is kind of the way we designed them to begin with. We designed with the ease of use, setting them up, inputs, outputs. There is no craft sensitivity pots, whether it be an ADU pot, reserve gain pots, anything like that. It's literally set your inputs up, set your outputs up, you plug in your DSIM, you set it, and you're good to go. So again, the same EQ platform, saving any sort of need for extra EQs and various values of the same value. And that would be the SDA amplifiers. So, and those are Comcast and Charter approved. That last bullet point there. Mid-split and high-split upgrades. Again, I mentioned that our drop-ins as well as our SDA amplifiers are mid-split upgrades or high-split upgrades to 204. Basically, changing reverse EQ, a diplex filter, and a net board. Those three pieces can come in kits. We do sell kits. So you can see here for the SDA as well as ASM amplifiers. Basically, change your return EQ, change your return net board, change your diplex filter, whether you're doing 42, 53, 85, 105, or 204, allowing you to complete the mid and high split. I apologize for the noise if they decided to cut the grass right at this time. Various accessories that we do use for our amplifiers, again, those net boards, directional couplers. If you were to look at the 1 gig amplifiers or any of our SDA amplifiers, DC couplers, whether 7, 10s, or 12s for Moto and C-Core. We also have different ones for the Cisco drop-ins. But then the EQ platform, as mentioned during the presentation, there's return EQs, regular EQs, and then cable simulators. The return and the forward EQs are included with each amplifier. So if anything was needed to be purchased, it would be a cable sim or directional couplers. Again, anybody's JXP pads can work in those slots for the EQ. And then we do have JXP pads, in case you were curious, from 0 to 20 and half dB steps, forward equalizer 0 to 18 and 1 dB, return equalizer 0 to 12 and 1 dB steps as well. Next slide. So this basically just kind of talks about how the various features that our amplifiers offer can save you guys money, reduces contractor splicing costs. Obviously, the EQs saves you guys having to have tackle boxes full of the same value of EQs for many different values. Many of you are aware of the DSIM and like it and its performance so far. So eliminating any sort of hardware changeouts. Again, if you're doing digital currently, DSIM's the way to go. One-stop shop, just kind of pointing out the same features in all of our amplifiers, whether or not it's an OEM for Moto GI, for SA Gainmaker, C-Core, or again, the ACI drop-ins, or excuse me, amplifiers. They all share the same features. So the EQs, same across all the platforms. Your controller works with all of the different types of amplifiers. And so saving money and time with the universal setup between all of our amplifiers, again, with the ease of use, setting up the input and output, no craft sensitivity pots. Oops. So the product roadmap, as referenced during some of the talk here, we are looking to get samples of our SDA amplifiers here, 1.2, in the next month or two. We are expecting that DWM digital return piece to be in our warehouse by the end of this month. And then, like I said, sometime next year, it looks like January, we're hoping for possible December samples to be able to send into facilities for testing on the C-Core. But we will hopefully have samples to be sending out to customers in January of 2021. And that sounds so far off, but really not. February, it looks like the Moto drop-ins will be kind of next, and then hopefully the Cisco will follow in March. Once we complete the process once, I think it makes it a little bit easier to go. But then we also are looking long-term at the 204 megahertz digital return, the 1.8 prototype, and working with Harmonic on our current node platform. So that is a little bit about what ACI has going on currently. Products in development as well as products currently in use. And I guess at this point in time, I would be happy to open it up to questions if anybody has anything.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. Appreciate the information and taking the time to present for us.
My pleasure. Thank you.